Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. The BBC has taken a short break from trying to panic people about toilet paper. They return to their normal agenda of trying to make people panic about the climate. They say Greenland and Antarctic ice loss is accelerating. This is a little different from NASA, which says that Antarctica is gaining ice. And according to NOAA, Greenland gained ice in 2017. And according to the Danish Meteorological Institute, Greenland's surface gained large amounts of ice in both 2017 and 2018. In both years, they gained more than 500 billion tons of ice. Last year, Greenland had a slower year, and the surface only gained 160 billion tons of ice. According to NASA, Greenland's largest glacier has grown for 3 years in a row. And Greenland's other famous glacier, the Petermann Glacier, has also grown since the year 2012. This is quite a change from 80 years ago when the glaciers in eastern Greenland were rapidly melting and they were nearing a catastrophic collapse. 10 years ago, The Guardian warned that Greenland was going to collapse in 10 years, which would have been this year, and it was going to cause a 23-foot rise in sea level. Meanwhile, Greenland is having one of their coldest years on record, with temperatures in the center of the ice sheet averaging around minus 50 degrees Celsius. Scientists are buried in snow, and it's too cold to go outside. In January, Greenland set their all-time record for cold, getting down to minus 86.8 degrees. Someone should probably explain to BBC writers that ice doesn't melt at 100 degrees below the freezing point. According to the National Snow and Ice Data Center here in Boulder, Colorado, sea ice extent is normal and growing at both poles. You can see that sea ice is growing very rapidly in the southern hemisphere. In the Arctic, sea ice is also growing and is the highest it's been in many years. Arctic sea ice extent is the fourth highest it's been in the last 15 years. Only 2013, 2012, 2010, and 2008 had more ice. The Arctic sea ice edge is almost exactly at the 1981 to 2010 median. I have a friend who's a newspaper publisher at a large newspaper, and she's traveling to Svalbard next month to look at polar bears. I've been pointing out to her that Svalbard has the most ice they've had in many years. This is quite a change from 100 years ago. During the winter of 1922, there was no ice at all around Svalbard. Last week, temperatures near the North Pole dropped to their lowest level in 6 years. And so far this year, temperatures near the North Pole have been about 5 degrees Celsius cooler than they were 4 years ago. In the year 2013, experts warned that the Arctic was going to be ice-free by the year 2015, and it was going to cause a methane catastrophe. This was because all the permafrost was going to melt, spewing out huge amounts of methane and causing the world to collapse. But if these experts actually knew anything about science, they would know that trees grew almost all the way to the edge of the Arctic Ocean 7,000 years ago. That means there was little or no permafrost around the time when Stonehenge was built. The Arctic Ocean was also ice-free at that time. Carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere were very low. This tells us several important things. One is that the Arctic climate is not controlled by atmospheric carbon dioxide levels. It also tells us that there's no such thing as a methane catastrophe and that polar bears can survive just fine without Arctic sea ice. Earth's climate does not require permafrost to remain stable. But science isn't important to the press. Now they can go back to their regularly scheduled programming, inducing panic about toilet paper. Visit Toto on the web at RealClimateScience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science and propaganda for a long time.